Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also share with your friends, and also click on the notification bell icon so that any video that I post, you will be the first to get it. Stay with me as we expand our knowledge with videos from all over the internet that's going to make us question reality and also rethink everything. Let's just start.
They're literally cutting out pieces of rotted flesh. Now, I already know what's going to happen in this video, so I'll sum this video up for you. They're going to inject it with color. They're going to put chlorine in it to kill the smell. They're going to make this look like it's supposedly fresh. And you as a consumer are going to be none the wiser. You have no clue what you're actually eating in the grocery store, and they fool you as the consumer because this is factory fishing, just like factory farming. All that's nasty. Be very aware where your food's coming from. Food sourcing, #1 in my book. Find out where your food comes from, because 99.9% of the time at the grocery store, you're being lied to.
China's going to be a rich and powerful country. No matter what we do, that's what we're going to have to deal with that. But we have to deal with the reality. What we cannot have is a world where China is so powerful we depend on them. And that's right now where we're headed, unfortunately. We have to be present. In the Indo-Pacific, they're trying to drive us out. We have a strong relationship. We are a Pacific nation. We are. And so we have relationships in the Pacific, and we're not going to abandon those. Japan, South Korea. You mentioned Taiwan. We have a long-standing position on Taiwan that we're not going to abandon. And that is, we are against any forced, compelled, coercive change in the status of Taiwan. That's been our position since the late 1970s, and that continues to be our position, and that's not going to change. We have to have military capabilities that allow us to respond to the threat that China is posing, and we need to be concerned. We have our aircraft manufacturing, our ship manufacturers. They are not keeping pace. China can build 10 ships before we can build one. That's a very serious vulnerability that cannot continue.
That's true.
Psychology is that people judge based on appearances.
Always say less than necessary. You're wearing the mask of somebody powerful who learns to control their tongue and control their behavior. Court attention at all costs. You know the behavior that will get people to look at you and attend to you. Do not build fortresses. You understand that appearing isolated as somebody is very dangerous. You know how to play the perfect courtier. You create the appearance of power. And that is the power game, is creating the appearance of it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, of course, results do matter. They do figure into the picture. I won't deny that. But the main part of the game, the main part of the laws, are understanding the role of appearances, being a good actor, and knowing how to manage that properly in a group situation.
When Caesar was 25, he was captured by pirates. The man did not behave like a captive at all. At night, he shushed the pirates so he could sleep. In the morning, he forced the pirates to listen to his poetry, and when they didn't like his poetry, he berated them for being illiterates. When the pirates told him that his ransom was 20 talents, he laughed out loud and he demanded that it be increased to 50 talents, and then he told them directly to his face that he will crucify them if they release him. And even though he isn't a naval commander, somehow raises a fleet and crucifies the pirates.
So a few days ago, I saw Timothy Chalamet's speech about how he's pursuing greatness. And over the last few days, I've seen a lot of TikToks about people making fun of his speech, telling him that it should have stayed in his journal, and a bunch of other insults. But personally, as someone who tries his hardest at everything that he does in his life, I found it very inspiring. And the truth is, anyone downplaying his speech are the exact type of people that you don't want to surround yourself with. The type of people who would make fun of you for trying at what you like doing. To the public eye, trying your hardest at anything will almost always be seen as cringe. And while they laugh at your efforts, they laugh at you trying. They'll congratulate you when you succeed.
True.
What you need to understand is that in order to build your dream life and to build a better life, you need to try as hard as you can. And you can't let the words of other people dictate what you do with your life. The truth is, anyone making fun of you for trying, they're just insecure that they can never achieve that goal that you set for yourself. The harsh reality is, people want to see you do good, but people don't want to see you do better. If you break out of your fear of judgment, you can build a better life for yourself and your loved ones and achieve things that you could never achieve before.
Find it in the Vatican, you find it in ancient Egypt, you find it here in the States, you find it all over cemeteries, you find it all over the Masonic lodges, and they believe by setting up this ritual. Now, it's all a recreation of the original ritual that took place between Isis and the 13 pieces of Osiris. The Washington Monument and the Dome of Isis, which is the Capitol building. Now, this is fascinating because the original ritual had to take place between in a courtyard between a dome and an obelisk. Putting those two together like that creates a power generator, literally a generator for this ritual. But think about this. In ancient Egypt, what had happened was the Pharaoh would go through this ritual, he would enter in a man, and he would exit the ritual a god. That was their belief. And they believed that their Pharaoh was literally the embodiment of Osiris because of that ritual. They were calling him up out of the underworld. Same ritual, basically, that the Freemasons believe that they have maintained the proper language and the ritual to a T from the ancient world. They claim to have this still today. They're right there between the dome and the obelisk, right there in that power generator, and right around the corner at the Herodome, which is what they call the Masonic Mecca of the world, literally. The Herodome is this temple, this massive, crazy temple in DC. They are literally calling on the spirit of Osiris to raise up, or Apollo, however you want to slice it, but they're not all conscious of the ritual. They believed in the foundation of this nation that Washington was a type. He was the first Osiris. Technically, every president in their eyes is an Osiris, but the crazy thing is that not every time the ritual is going to stick. They have to keep doing it until it actually sticks, and they get that one that they've been waiting for. You know, how many years, was Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard working in the desert trying to get this ritual to stick? They do this at the inauguration of every U.S. president because they believe there's going to come a time in a president that will be the one in the Capitol building beneath the 72 pentagrams and the apotheosis of George Washington. And that's not it. There's so much more numerology about the Capitol building and the 13 statues and the statutory hall. But I believe that's the real ritual. That's the one where he's going to raise, where the spirit of Osiris, which the Bible talks about this Apollyon coming up from the bottomless pit. Now his body's cut up into 14 pieces. He gets thrown into the Nile River. And Isis, of course, isn't happy about this. Isis tries to collect all the pieces up, and she's only able to find 13 pieces. So she fashions together those 13 pieces to form a more perfect union, which is the framework of our 13 colonies, a more perfect union, based off of the myth of Osiris. Now that's showing Egyptian magic even in the framework and the fabric of our foundation, right? It's not an accident that they brought together 13 colonies to form a more perfect union. That was all by design. It was all manufactured.
Money fears noise. Let this burn into your mind like a prophecy. Money fears noise. If you don't understand this, poverty will be your lifelong roommate. Why do banks feel like a library? Because money needs calm to multiply. The wealthiest institutions in the world are silent, calculated, and controlled. You'll never see billionaires raving in clubs with music blasting at brain-melting levels. They own the club. They own the liquor you're wasting your paycheck on. They own the land it stands on. The rich don't party. They fund the party for the weak-minded. They profit from your stupidity. You think you're celebrating. They think you're donating. You think you're enjoying life. They think you're paying rent. To them. You think you're a boss because you bought bottles. They think you're an employee without a paycheck. Loud money is soon to be. Ghost money. Look at the fools flexing online, flashing cash, renting exotic cars, showing off jewelry like a trophy. Where are they now? Broke, forgotten, left behind. Money is like a woman with high standards. The moment you start bragging, seeking attention, and showing desperation, she's gone. Smart money moves in silence. Dumb money screams for attention. And when money decides to leave you, it doesn't say goodbye. It vanishes. And you'll be left begging, borrowing, and blaming the system. But the system didn't fail you. You failed yourself. Money is a weapon, and you're either the shooter or the target. You think money loves you. Money doesn't love anyone. It belongs to those who control it, those who understand it, those who move wisely. Rockefeller built an oil empire in silence. Rothschild didn't tweet his net worth. He manipulated economies. Elon Musk is not in the club throwing cash. He's throwing satellites into orbit. But look at the ones who had it all and lost it overnight. Every flashy fool who thought money was their friend. They got loud. Money left. They started showing off. Money walked out the door. They thought they were untouchable. Now they beg for relevance. Money is introverted. Chaos makes it disappear. The moment a household starts arguing, money starts running. You don't even realize it, but every toxic fight, every stupid ego battle,
This is
every
true.
unnecessary conflict is literally repelling wealth. Divorce, money disappears. Family drama, money disappears. Bad decisions fueled by emotion, money disappears. And suddenly, unexpected hospital bills, emergency repairs, debt piling up. It's not bad luck, it's a consequence of disorder. If you want money to stay, do this. Shut your mouth. Stop telling people your business. Your plans are not a podcast. Guard your peace. If your life is a circus, your bank account will look like a joke. Ignore the crowd. The loudest people are usually the ones on the verge of financial extinction. Play for the long game. Stop seeking validation. Build wealth, not an audience. They say money talks, but smart money listens. Want to unlock the dark codes of financial power? Everything they never wanted you to know is inside the dark code, the book that deciphers the hidden rules of wealth, power, and influence. Get it now before they try to silence it. Comment PDF and I will send you the link to check out now. Subscribe for more unfiltered truth. If this hit you differently, don't just walk away. Subscribe for more content that will shake your mindset, sharpen your game, and give you the real knowledge they hide from the masses. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to wake up. See you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay silent, stay rich, stay Putinized. The mission of Brave Mind is to inspire and improve people's lives. Join us on our journey by following the community.
There's this thing, it's called the friendship case. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
The story's so weird and bizarre, really hard to believe. 1956, there was these Italian men apparently found this map of this castle that was close to them. They got there, and these two, they said they looked like humans, but they weren't. One of them was 10 feet tall, and the other one was 3 feet tall.
Stooges.
They were aliens. They went by W56. But apparently these alien people, they have these underground bases, they said. They've been here for centuries. They even have bases in the ocean. Their whole purpose of being on Earth is to save humanity from themselves, especially regarding nuclear bombs.
Yeah, fair.
But apparently there's 100 witnesses to these people. And there's photo evidence and video evidence of them showing them their flying saucers. But they said the only way that their technology works is if there is friendship and love.
What?
So like, we're not experiencing love within humanity or friendship or compassion. They said our technology doesn't work.
That's really cute.
It's like Santa Slay.
But they said that there's another group of aliens that have been here since they've been here, the CTR, basically their enemies. And it says they are described as materialistic and strictly scientific, more cold and calculated. Witnesses have depicted the CTR as human-like, often bald, and seen driving dark Mercedes limousines in Italy, reminiscent of the Men in Black phenomena reported elsewhere.
Crazy.
Yeah.
See, nobody expected there to be this kind of a psychopath in the Saudi line of succession.
Why not?
Well, because the Saudis historically have been very, very consultative. They were famous for this. It's actually written down in a family agreement. The 25 or 30 senior-most princes. The king dies, and then all the senior-most princes get together, and they say, okay, well, the next brother becomes king. So who's going to become crown prince? Because they have skipped brothers. Some brothers have said, this isn't for me. I'd rather live in Paris, or London. I don't want to be the crown prince. And they say fine, they skip them over. So they consult on all these major personnel decisions until MBS. MBS said, no, I'm the crown prince. And whoever doesn't like it is going to get a bullet between the eyes. And then he actually did it.
Yeah, he grew up like they never suspected he was going to be that kid because he was like the spoiled rich kid who played video games all the time. What these guys were saying in their book is that when he was a teenager, he had access to his father, so he would start to just sit in on meetings and watch. And he learned how power was wielded.
Yeah.
And actually picked up on those things.
Every time a culture is on the threshold of the end, it always becomes confused about gender. And you look at what happened to the Roman Empire. Nero, everybody knows about Nero, but where did he martyr the Christians? There was a place called the Circus Maximus. It sat 150,000 people. And Nero, there was a fire that took out 10 of the 14 districts. He needed someone to blame, so he decided to blame the Christians. Why the Christians? Because they did not partake in the culture. And so he's like, I'm going to get someone outside of the culture, we're going to blame them. So he started killing the Christians. Historians said he continued to kill them because they hated humanity. What are we accused of? Hating humanity. Same spirit.
Wow.
Nero's first wife, Octavia, married a political alliance. He falsely accused her of adultery and had her executed. Second wife was his mistress, Sabina. Some accounts say he kicked her to death while she was pregnant.
What?
Third wife, 16-year-old boy he castrated, dressed as a woman, and called Sabina. It is the same spirit, but the more he killed the Christians, the more Christianity rose. It was the end of the Roman culture as they started to kill the Christians. And now we're in the end of an age as well, where God has set a door in front of us. And we've got, today, as we're talking, they're hearing in the Supreme Court, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to allow our children to be gender hormone transformed, or are we going to wait till they're adults? This is that perversion of the image of God, male and female, is something that always happens at the end of a culture.
Once upon a time, there was a famous monk who said, "Do you want to know my secret to life? I don't mind what happens." I remember hearing that and thinking, how the fuck do you not mind what happens? Of course, I was still attached to things needing to happen exactly my way, controlling them, creating expectations, becoming deeply attached to those outcomes. So when I heard this for the first time, I was like, not minding what happens. It took me a decade to really unpack what he meant. And what he meant was that no matter what happens, my relationship to self and my reactions to what happens remain loving and accepting. Therefore, it really doesn't matter what happens.
Like that.
It doesn't matter what happens because I never stop loving and accepting myself in any given moment. Now think about that. The only reason why you would mind what happens is because in certain situations, you're willing to be loving, and in certain situations, you are not willing to be as loving or accepting. It's not okay if you don't get the job. It's not okay if they don't like you, because then you won't like you. So you have to mind what happens in that situation, right? But if it's okay that you didn't get the job, if it's okay that they didn't like you back, because your relationship to self in the present moment doesn't change, then yeah, you really don't mind what happens. And that's on unconditional love. That's on radical acceptance. These are the two things you have to learn in order to love your life. If you cannot learn these, you will always mind what happens.
Imagine having everything: money, wisdom,
power,
respect, and then losing it all. Not because the business failed, not because of an enemy, but because of the women that you decided to allow in your life. This is the story of King Solomon, one of the wealthiest and wisest men to ever live, but bro lost everything due to one fatal flaw. In the Bible, it says that God gave Solomon a choice. Ask for whatever you want me to give you. Most men would have asked for money, power, respect, or even revenge against their enemies, but Solomon, my man, asked for understanding, wisdom. And because of that, God didn't just give Solomon wisdom, he gave him everything. Bro was getting the equivalent of 1.2 billion in gold every year. My man Kingdom was so rich that silver was worthless. He built a palace covered in gold and ivory that took 13 years to build. And like a president, he took control of all trade routes, taxing nations who came through. They said he had 1,400 chariots, 12,000 horsemen, and the most powerful army in the region. Solomon understood money, power, and influence better than any man alive at the time. He was the ultimate king. But Solomon's downfall were women who turned him away. He had 700 wives, 300 concubines, which are basically mistresses, and God said to him, "Do not marry women of foreign nations. They're going to turn you away from me, because the women of these foreign nations are worshiping other gods." King Solomon thought that he was too wise to fall, but no man is strong enough to fire. Solomon started building altars for false gods. His wives started to worship false gods, and he turned away from the very God who gave him everything. And because of that, it says in the Bible that God tore the kingdom from him, and it was split apart after his death. The greatest king in Israel's history got finessed by lust, disobedience, and compromise. With that, here's 3 lessons that we should learn as men based off of the life of King Solomon. Number 1, a man who lacks discipline with women will fall. Number 2, not every woman is good for you. The wrong woman will drain you, the right woman will elevate you. Number 3, wisdom without obedience is useless. Solomon knew better, but he didn't apply the information that he knew. And in his last days, King Solomon wrote in the Bible in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13, "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." As men, our downfall will not be because we didn't know, it's because we didn't listen. If this story was valuable, share this with a brother who needs it. And luckily for us, before King Solomon died, he wrote the blueprint on life, love, happiness, success, wealth, right here in the Bible. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Songs of Solomon. I encourage you to give it a read.
Get in the Bible, get in there. There's refuge. I love John Piper. He's one of our modern day theologians, but he said, cry out to God and ransack the Bible for his appointed promise. We are fragile, he is not. And I found such strength in that submission to him and just like, yes, okay, Lord, take this from me. One dude recently probably gave me the best compliment I've ever received, and I'm so tempted to take it, but I can't. He's like, you have more testicular fortitude than any other man I've ever met. It's like the best thing you could ever hear as a dude, right? And people have said similar things like, we just can't believe how strong you were through this. And it's like, no, you're missing it. I don't have testicular fortitude. If you compliment me, I've got to just point you right to Jesus. Yes. Paul talks about this in the New Testament. When we are weak, his strength is manifested through us, and that's glorifying to God. So when we are weak, that's when we're actually strong. It's a powerful message.
Don't doubt God, by the way. Don't doubt him. Remember, it's all about faith. It's all about faith. And the Bible literally says your faith has made you well. Even if the situation seems impossible, still trust God. Because the impossible can be made possible. No matter how bad the situations look, God can fix it if you trust him and put your faith in him. You know what to do. Keep trusting people. Have a wonderful evening. Amen.
Even employees of these bigger churches are turning on the church, and they reach out to us through social media. They want to talk. I got hit up by an employee of this church who worked in their welcoming department. She didn't like that she would have to ask first-timers for their home address. She would need their phone number, their email, their home address. And she asked her boss, why am I asking for home addresses? Her boss said, we have an outside firm that verifies these people own that house. And then we run a report. We get the value of the home. And if they have more than 1.5 million in equity in that house, the head pastor calls that person personally and invites them back to church. And so ironically, I have an ex-Special Forces guy who's given us a lot of data. And he goes, Nathan, in the military, we call that target acquisition. Yeah. These pastors are targeting their richest and wealthiest in their community, and that's who they reach out to. They're not reaching out to the poor and the marginalized and the needy. They will scrape you off the plate because the ends justify the means, but they will find the richest first-timers and go after them for their money. Not all churches, but that is what happens when we look at growth over depth from a community perspective, from a church perspective.
It's a very serious warning from the United States Fish and Wildlife Service about goldfish. These little cute guys you see right here, do not release them into the wild, according to our government, because they can, quote, balloon into giant football-sized invaders. Yes, they seem fragile and dependent on us, but they can get this big. Wow. This was in a waterway in Pennsylvania. Whoa! Just the other day.
And it's not edible.
That big and even bigger. This is, they're calling it the Megalodon goldfish.
Oh!
Years ago, a guy caught a 67
this is so big.
That's a goldfish?
What?
So you release them into the wild, and apparently something like flicks in their brain, and they rewild, and they eat fish eggs, they eat algae, they eat insects, they eat other fish.
But they're finally able to eat other real food.
It's a
yeah.
They have the little flakes. They want to eat your hand. They want to take the whole hand off. And they live for 40 years.
Oh, really?
Millions of them, thank you very much, children of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, millions of them in the Great Lakes that are invasive.
Oh, man.
Wow, I didn't realize they got that big. And can they,
so what you're supposed to do, and this is also hilarious, is rehome them. So find someone who will take your goldfish.
Where would you put that?
Or you can use them in bait, It's legal in 16 states. Check your local listings.
What?
What?
I don't want to kill them.
What?
I wouldn't want to kill them.
But that's why they're killing everything else.
Oh boy.
It's a tough call, Vlad. It's a tough call.
Do you think sometimes women actually try to get pregnant from men?
Yes. Yes.
That's a real thing?
Yes.
You've had girlfriends say, "Oh, I'm trying to."
I've had girlfriends lie about abortions to get money, to act like they're pregnant. Yes, it's disgusting. This is why I stopped my slut walk, by the way.
Yeah.
This is why I'm no longer a feminist. Because I saw the dark side of what women can do. And I'm sitting here feeling slighted by men.
Right.
And then I'm fighting for equality.
Right.
And I'm like, the only equality is that you ain't either. You're crazy. Y'all are really, you guys are extorting men, lying about pregnancies, saying you're on birth control when you're not, to trap them. You know, and I mean, not to sound vulgar, but if a man comes inside of you and you say that you're on birth control, he trusts you.
Right.
Up that you would trap him like that. You don't do that to people.
How did it become so contagious?
You know, I never said this, Shannon. I'm gonna say this on your show,
Okay,
and I'm gonna give the truth to the world,
Okay.
the internet. Okay.
Okay.
Jocelyn Hernandez was trying to have sex with me. The whole time I was on College Hill, she was in my ear. She was saying, "Just give me a chance one time, you know. But if you're cool with it, we can do it in front of my husband. But if not, like, it could just be me and you." And at first, I was nice, and I said, "I'm flattered. It's just not my thing."
Right.
Right? I was very gentle.
Right.
In my ear again, coming over, like having a dress on and going like this, bending over, a coochie out.
What?
Yes. And it was loud.
Did you tell her, like, look, I like the Arm & Hammer?
I did. She knew that.
Okay.
She knew that I'm a heterosexual woman.
Yeah. Okay.
Jocelyn's a beautiful girl.
Yes.
An idiot, but she's a beautiful girl,
Okay.
right? I'm not going to deny that. So anyway, when I had respectfully declined on numerous occasions, then she started bullying me with the race. Why you sound white? Why you talk white? Why this and that, blah, blah, blah. But you black. Why you act white? All this. And I'm like, you're like obsessed with me. Like there's no, you don't talk white. Are you insinuating that black people can't speak well? It's insane.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do you hate that you felt like you needed to pick a side? Why can't I just love both of my parents? One is black, one is white. Why can't I embrace? Why do I have to choose a side? Why do I got to choose the Caucasian side of my family?
Not my people.
Right.
People on the outside. Not my family.
Okay.
My
That's what I'm
family.
saying. Yeah, outside forces wanted you to choose. You
All the
black.
time.
Say I'm black. Black power. Right on.
But it's like one drop rule comes from white supremacy. It comes from Jim Crow era where
Yeah, one
white
drop-
enslavers would rape black slaved women and they would have their kids and they'd be like, oh, one drop, you're still a slave.
Right.
You know, it comes from white supremacy. There is no reason why I have to feel bad that I have a white dad and white family members that I love. And I have to just say I'm black because the one drop rule is insane.
Right.
And I love that I have my white uncles that introduced me to Pantera and Metallica and System of a Down and Leonard Skinner and all these all that.
Air Supply.
That's a part of my culture because of my white
Right.
uncles. And then my mom's side is, you know, the Anita Baker, Luther Vandross, Four Tops, Temptation, Teddy Pendergrass. That is who I am.
What's going on?
People are called color in South Africa,
Yeah.
colored. There's a different culture over there. People in the U.S.
They used to call you that. They used to call you that in civil doing, you know,
The civil rights,
Yeah,
yeah,
civil rights and the
Jim
civil,
Crow.
yeah, and you know, pre the 1860s. That's what they would call colored. They call you Negro.
But it has a negative connotation here in America
Right.
because of American history.
Right.
It's not the same in South Africa.
Right.
So when she says that, people are up in arms, but it doesn't mean the same thing
Right.
over here that it doesn't.
Being emotional isn't masculinity. Masculinity is self-control, I'm afraid. Being masculine is being able to step back and go, this isn't necessarily the right thing to do. I have to think about it. I have to do something that's more productive, that's positive. I have to criticize myself sometimes. Weak people can't criticize themselves. So if you're listening to me, at least be willing to say that maybe some of my ideas are wrong. My ideas and your ideas. That to me is strength. That to me is a masculine virtue. Being able to criticize your own side and not get always so emotional and overheated and leaving nasty YouTube comments.
You know,
yes, right.
God appoints time and dates. He set things up, and when He wants something to happen, He makes sure that thing happens specifically. You get what I'm saying? If He wants you to meet somebody, it might be a coincidence. You might be like, man, you might need something from the store and say, man, I don't feel like going to the store. But you get that inkling to go to the store, and then you go to the store, and then you meet somebody that you're supposed to meet. It was a divine appointment. God set it up like that. You know what I'm saying?
You feel like people sometimes miss those appointments?
Yeah, because a lot of people don't understand how the spiritual things work. You know what I'm saying? So we have something called intuition. We call it our intuition, right? But it don't belong to us. Our life don't belong to us. Once we start understanding that, we start moving different. Our intuition is not our intuition. So check this out. When it comes to our intuition, let's just say you get ready to do something. Your first mind, which is your intuition, tell you, don't do it. The moment you go do it and something happens, what's the first thing you say? I should have followed my first mind. See, your first mind will never lead you wrong. Your first, how can it be your mind? You get what I'm saying? If you choose to do something different.
Right.
It'll never lead you wrong.
Right, so a lot of people ignore their intuition, and that's why they miss those divine appointments.
No. They don't ignore the intuition. They think it's them. Listen to what I'm saying. They think it's them, so they don't respect it. Let me ask you a question. Can you have a conversation with yourself? Can you talk to yourself?
You can.
You think so?
That's right. You can think, well, I guess you're just thinking to yourself.
Can you have a conversation with yourself?
Not really, because there's only one perspective.
So check this out. A conversation is a dialogue between two people.
Right.
So how can you have a conversation with yourself? But in those quiet times, you'll find yourself having a conversation. So then you have to ask yourself, who am I having a conversation with? See, one thing that we don't understand is God's voice sounds just like our voice. It don't sound no different than nobody else. It's not, his voice to me is not going to sound like your voice. It sounds like my voice. That's why you have to listen to it. You have to be quiet. You have to really know the difference. You know what I'm saying? So once you start understanding that, then you realize that it's not your intuition. That's God. Because it'll never lead you wrong. Even if it tell you to do something outlandish, like pack up your family and move to another city, it'll never lead you wrong. See, what we don't understand is we pray and we ask for God, we ask things from God that we later forget about because we really didn't mean it.
Oh, come on now, say it one more time.
You know what I'm saying? We ask things of God that we really didn't mean, because this is the thing. If you hungry, you're not going to ask me one time and forget about you being hungry, are you? You're going to continue asking. It's going to be on your mind. We don't do that. So we'll ask God, God, I want a better job. I want to put my family in a better position. And all of a sudden God say, hey man, I want you to move to Utah. And you'll say, God, I don't know nobody in Utah. How am I going to make it out there? But see, this is where faith comes in. You can say you have faith when it's comfortable for you. That ain't faith. Faith is never comfortable, bro. It's going to challenge you. It's going to stretch you. It's going to make you go out of your comfort zone. And a lot of us don't want to do that. But we still want the things that we want God to put everything on our lap. And he say, no, I'm looking for those who's going to trust me. So you'll stay in Houston broke for the next 5-6 years when everything that God has for you is in Utah. One thing about God, if he gives you a vision, he's going to make provision. He's going to make a way for that thing to happen. You ain't got to work too hard for it. He's going to line it up for those who move in faith.
But you know what? So do you feel like a lot of people don't realize that and they end up quitting, or they don't see the provisions? Because God will put you through provisions. He's going to come to you. He's going to change your life, take some things away, some things that you love, things that are distracting you. He's going to take people away from you. And I feel like a lot of people misunderstand what God's doing, and they end up quitting and going on a different path. Because you said they need faith.
But see, a lot of people think that things is happening to them and not for them.
There you go.
Oh man, you preaching.
Yeah.
The world needs to hear this.
A lot of things that happen to us is not happening to you. It's happening
for you.
You've been saying, God, I want to start a business. He done gave you an idea for a business, but you're too scared to move. You depend on this 9 to 5 every day. So guess what he has to do to make you move? You go to work and they fire you. You ain't did nothing wrong. You can't understand why. But he had to push your back against the wall so you can move in this direction.
Right.
And then years later, you'll realize, man, the best thing that ever happened to me was me getting fired.
Right.
Because if I hadn't gotten fired, I wouldn't have started this business. But in the process, we think that God is, oh, you being mean to me. Nah. A lot of times we're hard-headed. We won't move when he tells us to move. That's why he got to do us the way he do us.
Wow, this is very interesting. Like, I love this video. This videos were like, you know, a godly video, like, you know, inspirational to the core, and I loved it so much. I really enjoyed myself. It gave me a different perspective about, you know, 1 or 2 things that are going on in my life, and also keep pressing on this channel, because I mean it's a startup, so it's like we are now starting this channel and we are now trying to get it out there to the millions. So yeah, it gave me, you know, it strengthened my faith and also made me realize that God is in control. So I should just keep on pushing, just keep on showing up, and just keep on doing what I am supposed to do. So if you've come to the end of the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also share with your friends, and also click on the notification bell icon so that any video that I post, you will be the first to get it. Adios amigos, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.